Architectural Builder Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
A lab BFK108 kit. And I was trying to reverse engineer one of my locks. And unfortunately, it wasn't really a very good one to reverse engineer, but I was looking through it, and if my mind is thinking correctly the way these work, you have the key slot, the cylinder where the key goes in. When you put your key in, all your pins should be flush, correct? I'm using Falcon locks.
So you're doing Falcon small format and
right,
or best, and the question is, are the pins supposed to be flush when you load them through the top of the core?
Well, when I load them through, I kind of understand that when I put my key in, the one that I'm trying to make the lock for, and then I put all my pins in, and I get the right size, which I have the sheet with the right size for it. So they're all flush. I guess really
what's
that
flush?
part I get. All the pins, because there's a top and a bottom row of pins that I have to get into the core. I'm assuming the bottom ones go into the core, and the tops go into the cylinder with the spring, right?
Have you ever keyed a small format core before?
About 2.5 years ago, my ex-boss showed me how to do it once.
Okay. Yeah. So
I'm trying to reverse it here.
Yeah. So in 1992, I taught myself to do it, and then in 2018, I tried to do it again, and I was like, oh God, I don't remember how to do this. So what you need is literally how to pin small format 101 class.
Yes. Is there one on YouTube?
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of resources online, I'm sure, but
right.
You've got a change key that you're keying it to, right?
Yes.
Is there a master key?
I do have a master. And see, that was the thing that initially when I first started, the lock already had basically the slave key. It was keyed to the slave key, and it worked. So when I pulled it apart, I wanted to key it to a different key so that I could have the slave and the master, which what I'm assuming is you have the bottom pin, which the bottom pins, and then you have, I guess, the top pins that go in with the spring on the top part of it, right, on the cylinder part.
We've missed a whole big part of how to do the job.
Okay.
You went from the beginning to the end, and we missed
all
the
I did. Okay.
Yeah, so you've got the bookends. So you've got a change key and you've got a master key, right? You want both of those to work, and you have to make your control key work as well, correct?
Correct. So that's another set of pins that I have to add to it.
That's right. So are there only the 3 different keys that have to work those?
It's for us is 2. Well, it should be 3 because there should be a master, and then there should be another master that I think is supposed to work for any lock. Is that correct?
Maybe. Depends on how your key system is. You're not referring to the control key that pulls the core out and puts it back in, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I was never even shown that one.
Yeah, so that's a big thing. So you've got a control key, you've got a change key, the key that operates the core. Then it sounds like you've got a master. Then it sounds like you might have a grandmaster, and then a control key. So you've got 4 keys that have to operate that. So if that, regardless of how many keys operate it, it's either 2 or more. It's very likely 3 or more. So the first step in combinating a small format core is you've got to write the pinning chart. So you have to measure or put on a key gauge the cut of every single one of those keys and write them in a vertical format. You've got to write what the bidding is for all of the keys that are going to operate that.
the particular core.
For that core, you've got to write down the bitting of every key that's going to operate that. Once we know what the bitting is, or the cuts on the different keys, we then can determine what pins to use.
Okay. So I have that. Like in my case, their name, it's Keyway G is what my sheet says. But like I have AK1 through AK10, and each one of them has the combination. And currently I'm trying to do combination for AK3. So the combination is 1, 2, 7, 4, 8, 7.
1, 2, 7, 4, 8, 7 is AK3.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's correct.
So the fact that it's called AK means that it's a 3-level system, which means there will be 4 keys that will operate this. So
okay.
There should be a master called AK. Is there one?
There is.
Okay, what's the bitting for AK?
505487.
Okay. There should then be a Grandmaster A. Is there a Grandmaster A?
That's correct. There's a
What's the bitting for that?
5049.
50. Say it again.
505049.
Okay. The last key that's going to have to operate that is the control. What is the control bitting?
Now, see, that I don't have in this book.
Okay. Without the control bitting, or without the actual key for you to measure, you cannot proceed.
Oh, wow. I don't know where he used to store that then, or he just never showed it to me.
Do you have a control key in your possession? A key that you know that pulls cores?
Yeah, my master does.
Well, what's that key stamped?
Hang on a second. Let me pull it out and look.
If it's even stamped, it may not be stamped. It probably is, though.
Exactly. Let me look, because like I said, he handed these to me. Huh. It's not even stamped.
Okay. So there is a key that will allow you to insert the core into the trim and then to pull it out when you put it in and turn it clockwise 15 degree. We need to know the bitting for that. Once we know the bitting for that, we can then build the pinning chart. From the pinning chart, it tells you what pins to drop in what chamber. But without that control bitting, we have no. Now we cannot proceed. Now we can make a control key for this cylinder only, but it will only work this cylinder.
Gotcha. So what I'm wondering is, because whenever I did see him do it, he would take his AK key. I got to measure this. I got to just put it through the machine to see if it's an AK or if it's an A. It may be an A. He would always take his A key or AK. Like I said, I'll have to measure it. And he'd go to the cylinder, turn it, and pull the cylinder out, come over to the pads, and then he would go ahead and pull the shaft with a little pin and spring, and he would put the, he'd pull the cylinder out and with the same key. He never had like another key to pull it out. Do you think maybe he just made his own thing up?
Well, it sounds like the person you're referring to was in possession of the control key, and you just have to figure out which key that is. It sounds like you've called it the AK key, but that's the wrong thing to call a control.
I agree with you, because that's from the book that I'm reading. The A is the master, the AK is the AK is the master, and the A is the grandmaster.
That's
everything
exactly
I've
correct.
read in these books.
That's exactly correct.
I got to measure this one, because he's told me before, in the past when I was out in my building, he'd call me and tell me, hey, can you pull this lock off and bring it to me? And I would use my key to pull the lock off. But whenever I take it to him,
to pull the core out.
Right, to pull the core out.
Okay.
So I guess I got to figure out what that is, and I guess that's what he's using as his control key.
Well, that's what you got to figure out. So whatever key that you can put in the core and have it pull the core from the trim, you got to write down the bitting of that and then label it control.
Okay.
But given the standard key coding system identifier you gave me, AK3, you've got AK1 through AK10. That's a 3-level system, so there should be 3 keys. There could be more. There could be less, but it's probably 3, plus the control for small format. Okay. So there's probably 4 keys that we're going to have to combinate through that cylinder. And without knowing the control, you've got to figure out what the bitting is. The cuts are the bitting. When we say cuts, we mean bitting. When we say bitting, we mean cuts.
Gotcha.
You got to figure out the bitting for all of that.
Okay. So I'm looking at the book, and he has everything he's written looks like it's pinning for like 1 key on the side, and then he has the bitting for 1 key, and he's got top and bottom written on it for each individual key. And then he has another slot where he's writing, let's see, the master key. So basically, it looks like he has 3 sets of pins all together, nothing more.
Well, you're going to definitely need, just looking at the bittings that you gave me, 1, 2, you would need 4 pins per chamber. A bottom pin, a master pin, a control pin, and then a driver pin.
Okay.
So when you pull one of those apart, there should be 4 pins that come out. But if 3 come out, well, then that means that there's only 1 key that operates that core.
Okay.
Well,
if
there's only 3 pins per chamber, then there would be an operating key and then a control key.
Right. I think that's how he must have. Right. I think that's what he was doing. Instead of using an operating key like you're calling it, he was using the master as the operating key. Because when I pull one out, they had 2 keys on them where one of them works and then the master works. Let's see, because you have a spring also. 2 pins would fall out.
Well,
per chamber.
Yeah,
and depending on which one it was, because I'm assuming depending on how high the master is going to differentiate how many pins are on top of that particular chamber, right?
No, not at all. The depth of a cut doesn't do anything about increasing the quantity of pins. But what you just said about there being only 2 pins, that's wrong. There has to be at least 3 in this system for a key, an operating key, just a key that operates the cylinder, and a control key. I suppose they could combinate only one. I suppose you don't have to combinate all chambers for the control to work as long as one was combinated. But that would really make the quantity of potential keys that would pull that cylinder a very, very risky number. A very, very, you could theoretically have 10, one out of every 10 keys could open that core. Could pull it. That's how he did it.
Oh, I see. So if you have let's say if you have a master and a slave, or a door opening and a control key. When you say slave, what do
you mean? Do you mean just the AK3?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's how the book was reading. That's what I keep remembering. So that's what they call the slave, which is the one that opens that door only.
Yeah, that's just the change key for that opening, or it's just the AK3 key or the AK10 key, whatever it is.
Right. So if you have that, yes, sir.
As you learn more about this stuff, you won't. Other people within the industry would probably understand what you mean by slave key, but just right away using the terminology that the industry uses is the best way to master this. So we'd call it the operating key or the change key or just the AK3 key.
AK3, okay, operating key. Yeah, because it operates the door. I got you.
Yeah,
but it
that's
only
all.
operates that particular cylinder.
Or any cores that are pinned AK3. You could have a million core, all AK3. So there you go.
Right. Because let's say it was a housekeeping closet, and you have 10 of those. You don't want to have.
Or
10
you
keys.
have
You can have
1,000 of those. I mean, that's not the way it would be done. But yes, your logic is sound. Yes, sir.
Okay. So in that case, when you have 2 keys, you should have at least 3 sets of pins, right?
You must. If you're following instructions, there must be a bottom pin. There would then be a control pin, and then a top or a driver pin. You need, because there are 2 shear lines in that cylinder that you have to satisfy, and you can't do that with only a driver pin and a bottom pin. You're absolutely okay. Now it's making sense. Now it's making a lot of sense. That would only do 1 key if you had 2 sets of pins. You can't do 1 key only in small format. Gotcha. It would either operate the change. I mean, if you had 1 pin and a driver pin, it would operate only one of the shear lines, which means you could either work the lock, but I don't see how that's possible, or you could retract the control lug. So you could get the core in and out, but then you couldn't operate it. Or if you had, for some reason, somehow the core was in, or like a mortise cylinder, you could do it with a mortise cylinder. Well, can you? No, you can't. Yeah, you've got to have 3 pins. 3 pins, okay. See, and that's where I'm going wrong then, because I keep, I have, like, some slots will have 3 pins and some won't. And, and the other thing is, so you call the top. What did you call the pin that has a spring tied to it, or that is the driver being pushed by the spring? The driver. Yeah. Are those different sizes? Yes. Okay. See, so can I give you the magic number? Yes, please. Okay. So you gave me a BFK108. That's a best A2. Best has A2, A3, and A4. A2 is like 99% of all best systems out there that I run into. The magic number is 23. Every single chamber must equal a pin stack of 23. The variable is the driver pin. So if you've got a bottom pin 5 and a master pin 5 and a control pin 5, you know that top driver pin's got to be what? 23 minus 5 minus 5 minus 5. It has 15. To be an 8. It's got to be an 8. That's the magic. That's the magic. So every driver. I think you just solved my problem. I think you did. And when you first said the pins have to be flush, no, your pin stack has to equal 23. Okay. Because if you make the pins flush, your spring won't fit in there. Okay, so let me give you just an example. Maybe you'll understand this. I don't know. So I'm using the BFK108 box, and it has the top pins, and it has the numbers on them, number 2 through 19. 17, 19? Okay, yes, sir. That makes sense. 19. And then the bottom pin has 8, let's see, actually 0 through 9 maybe? But but I'm looking at it, and he changed the numbers because he put 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and he put 15 and 16. So apparently something happened where 0 through 4 were not useful to him. So he went ahead and changed the pin setup for the bottoms. So now I have 5 through 16 for the bottom pins. Now, what he has is like for AK3, I'm seeing notes that he put revised. For the bottom pins, he has 7, 6, 11, 6, 9, and 14. And the top pins, he has 6, 8, 5, 5, 5, and 4. So then I guess you're saying is 0.23, is that the number, like, for example, pin number 5 on the bottom is 0.172. And then pin number 1, well, wait, hang on, let me go back. It's a 7. Pin on the bottom is 0.197. And then pin on top is, let me see, what is 6?
1, 2, see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.06. So that equates to 0.2.
A 4 maybe?
Yeah, 0.247.
The bottom line is you're converting, you've got it all in decimal. I don't understand why you would need that at all. Just use the whole numbers, 0 through 9 for bottom pins, and then whatever the top pin range, 19 down to whatever. And I say that because I just don't remember what it is. It's 10, it's whatever it is. They call them, in BEST, they call them segments. You've got your A segments and your B segments. They're just bottom pins, or they're top pins. The masters, the control pins, and the top pins, they're all the same pin. They're all the same segment. The only difference is between the bottom pins have that chisel on them, that point on them. Every other pin doesn't have that. So once you know 23, you don't have to deal with decimals. What's the cut on the key in the first chamber? So we know that you got your AK3 as a 1. So you're going to have a 1 bottom pin because you can't have anything below that. Then let's say you were pinning it to AK, which is a 5. You then know that you're going to need a 4 master pin. So right now, you've got a total in that chamber of 5 segments. You've got a 1 bottom and a 4 master. That means in that chamber, your 1 key, your 1 cut, and your 5 cut will work. What you don't know is what your control cut is, because then that will tell us the next pin height. Then you'll have your third pin. Then you would take those 3 pins and subtract all of that from 23, and that will give you your driver pin height.
Your driver. Oh, I see. So, okay, and you're not using the decimal part. You're using the number, right?
No, don't mess with that baloney. You know why? There are times when you would think of it in that sort of construct, but when you're doing small format, you don't need any of that stuff. Just use the whole numbers right out of the kit. Lab probably puts those there because Lab does a lot of universal kind of stuff where, the key is worn and it's no longer a 5 cut. What's the decimal size of a 5 out of that pin kit? I mean, is it
0.062?
Okay, point. Well, that would probably be a master pin, wouldn't it? An 062.
It says the top pin. I don't even see masters on this.
No, what I mean is if 062 for a 5 is not the bottom pin. So right. So I mean to think of it in terms of decimal. Well, what does 23 equal in decimal? Then you'd have to be calculating 3-digit numbers for everything.
Exactly.
So the bottom line is, if in your scenario, you've got AK3, AK, and A. You have let's say that your A key is your control. You know you're going to need a number 1 bottom pin. You know you'll need a number 4 top pin. A master pin. Now you got 5 in the pin stack. Okay. So the next thing you have to know is what the control cut is. So let's take a look here. And if we're going to say that the control cut is just a 5, then bear with me one moment.
Sure. One of 4, so we got 5.
I want to make sure that I say this correctly. Just bear with me.
Sure.
Because there's one other component. Okay, stand by. So we've got
Yeah, this is totally throwing me off because now I'm really confused as to what he was doing with these locks.
Right.
And see, like, I was going to pull my shop lock out and just test to see what, remove it with the master and then see what pins were left over. But I'm just afraid to mess it up and mess the order up.
Yeah. No, you don't want to do that. Okay. So let's say, let's review, let's back up. We know that we've got a 1 bottom pin to make the AK, so we're only looking in the first chamber.
Right.
So your AK3 has a 1. That's the cut nearest the tip. Your AK started with a 5. So in order to have the 1 and the 5 work, you got to have a 1 bottom pin and a 4 master pin. Let's say that your control cut is also a 5. Let's say that the key that's labeled A is actually the control.
Okay.
So the first fundamental rule is that it's 23. Keep 23 written down on a piece of paper.
Gotcha.
Here's the next rule, the only other rule that you have to follow. What is the control cut in this chamber? We just said it's a 5. It happens to, which is the key that was labeled A, we're just as an example, which happens to be the same cut as AK. That's okay. That's no problem. So here's the rule. Take the control cut. Your control cut in this scenario is 5. The rule is add 10 to that. In A2, you add 10. That means you have 15. Just 15 is your number. From that, you deduct your pin stack. Your pin stack is 5, and the pin stack is comprised of your 1 bottom and your 4 master. So 15 minus 5 is 10. That means the next pin you have to put in there is a 10. You then add the 3 pins together. 1 bottom pin plus 4 master plus 10 control pin, we call it, minus 23. That means that your driver pin has to be an 8. So you take your control key, you add 10 to it. You then subtract from that number the total height of all pins that you've dropped down into the chamber. Do you want to do another example?
That would be great.
Okay. So you gave me, let's look at the opposite chamber. You gave me for AK3 that ends in a 7, and
That's
AK
correct.
ends in a 7, and A ends in a 9. Let's say that A is your control. So what's the bottom pin that you need to make AK3 and AK work?
Let's see.
It's not intuitive, but it will be. So in that 6th chamber, which is the cut nearest the bow, you've got a 7 for AK3, right?
Right.
And then for AK in that same chamber, it's also a 7, right?
Yes.
What's the cut for the A that you gave me in that same chamber?
It's a 9.
Yes, sir. It's a 9. We're going to call that the control. So you need to make your operating keys work it. What pin do you have to drop to make a 7 for AK3 and a 7 for AK work? What pin are you going to drop?
A 2, right? What's the difference between the 2?
Nope. Don't worry about the 9 right now. Forget the 9. The only keys we care about are the operating keys. The control key is step 2. Right now we're at step 1. So you're overthinking it, meaning your brain is telling you this is harder than this is hard, but it's not. So it's as simple as this. The pin you would drop is a 7. You need a 7 bottom pin. That's all you need.
7 bottom pin.
You're going to put a 7 bottom. That's going to satisfy the 6th chamber for AK3 and AK. Now, because the change key, the AK3, and the master key, AK, are the same cut, you don't need a master pin. They're the same cut.
Okay.
So
they're okay. I see.
How much sausage do you have in that bag right now, in that chamber? How many pins do you? How much height and pin do you have? You've got 7 heights. You've got a value of 7 there. Okay, so you're going to put a 7 bottom pin. The next key you have to make work, the only key left is the control key. To go back to our rule, your control cut is a 9. You add 10 to that, that equals 19. You subtract from that what? Your pin stack. How many pins have you already put in that chamber? You've put 7.
1 pin.
You put
7,
1
yes.
pin, and it equals 7. Very
7.
good. So 19 minus 7 is 12. You know what 12 is? The next pin you put in there. So you know that you got a 7 in there. You know you just put a 12. 7 plus 12 is 19. 23 minus 19 is 4.
6.
No, it's 4.
I'm sorry, 12. Yeah, I'm
Yes, sir. You're
12
there.
plus 7, we got 19. Gotcha. We got
23 minus 19 is 4. Guess what the last pin you put in there is? So now it's a 4. You got a 7 bottom. You got a 12 control, what we would call a control pin. It's just it's a B segment. And then you got a 4 B segment or a driver pin. Now you've just pinned that chamber. And all 3 of those keys are going to work.
Gotcha. So and that's what I need to do for every one of the pins, basically. Go through this math right here.
Yes, sir. Every chamber. And that's why small format is a hassle in the sense that that's why locksmiths charge more to do it. You know why? Because it's just more work.
Right. So before I start pinning anything, I really just need to take a sheet of paper and do all the numbers so that I can know which pins.
Yes, sir.
Right. Excel. That's a good one.
So what you just said means you're going to draw your pinning chart. If you are going to have to do this, you're going to want to buy a book. You should definitely buy a book or dive into the published best catalog references in the service manual. You will be able to teach yourself how to do this, but I think you need to have a book to look at and say, okay, let me study this like I did in high school.
Absolutely.
And then someone like me to call for the push to get you over the hump if that occurs. But that book is always there for you to go back and say, yeah, I haven't done this in 2 years. What the hell was the number? What am I doing? Is it what am I adding to the control?
Right. And what's the name of that book that you recommend?
Well, I've read all of them. I mean, well, not all of them. I've read lots. There was a gentleman by the name of, and I only know him because I would say I'm a student of his. Now, when you go to the best website, they're going to have their service manual. They go through it, but it's kind of laborious because they don't present it to like, hey, did you say your name was Raphael?
Raul,
sorry. So they're not going to say, hey, Raul, here's how you do this. So it's a little harder to work through. But there's a fella. His name is William M. Lynk, Lynk. And my man his website is, I'll just say it. It's iclsglobal.com. So Igloo Charlie Lima Sierra Global.com. And then my man there has, on the left column, IC books. He's got literally the first book there. It's small format, interchangeable cores. William, and if you were to go to the Aloha convention in Orlando this July, he's there teaching. So he could, you want to take a class? William will be there teaching it. So, but that's not necessary, I don't think. You can get a book like his. His book, the book I just recommended, it's called Interchangeable Cores, Small Format, is one of the books that I read that allowed me to pass the test. Yes, there's a test.
I believe it.
When you want to be certified as a locksmith. So that would be a book that I would recommend. But at the end of the day, there's lots of books that will do that, including free ones from Best. And ask another locksmith. I was just given very good advice in a class I just finished, a 10-week, a 2-month class. Ask another locksmith.
I'll have to do that. I totally appreciate your help. I'm going to have to look into his books because this is one of my gazillion duties around here. And I just, I did, like I said, 2.5 years ago, he kind of showed me what he was doing. And I figured it out at that point. But then after 2 years, his leave was unexpected. And now I'm stuck having to change a lock. And I pull one out, and I'm like, trying to figure how to reverse engineer it or trying to remember what he said, and I could get one key to work, but I could never get that the master to work. So I had to keep pulling off it has the cylinder has a little spline on top where you can pull it off to get the springs and everything out after you lock it up.
That's the spring
So I've had to do that multiple times, and I'm not sure what you call it. That's just what I could look at it. It's a little piece of metal on top of it that holds
it's called
everything.
The spring cover.
Basically.
Yeah, it's a spring cover.
Well, that's simple enough, the spring cover.
Yep.
So I've just been racking my brains because I'm like, I know there can't be that much more, or he didn't show me a step that, whenever he was done with me and I had to go do something else, he just didn't show me that extra step, and I don't see any of his writing. So what you've told me, that's helped me a bunch. Now I'll just have to go through here and do some of this mathematics. And I'm going to look into this website and see if I can order one of these books. That way I can get this figured out.
Yeah, or just call him. He's a super nice guy. Just tell him, one of your students from ALOA, the Associated Locksmiths of America, recommended your book, and how quickly can you get one in my hands?
Awesome.
Now, what you could do, though, is you could just take that core and the keys that have to operate and go to a local locksmith and say, just make this work for me, and then pay the guy while you are, if you got a lockout happening right now, you might just get that done while you then go into how to teach yourself how to do it so you're not pressured for time.
Exactly. That's a great idea. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call somebody. I have it out. I just need for it to work properly. And it for me is like a challenge trying to figure things out. But this one's become a little bit of a conundrum because once you pull one out and you think, okay, I'm going to see how all these pins fall out. When you get through that spring, well, one, if you don't know what the control key is, or if you don't know what the
magic
the
numbers
key
are.
Right. It could all go really wrong. So I've been just pulling locks that don't make a difference that they're there or not. But some of them he has written, like the one I was messing with, it said AK3 on the side. That for some reason, when I pulled the pins out, something didn't work right whenever I put them back in. So apparently one of them, as I was pulling them out with the springs and stuff, something didn't come out right. Because I couldn't get it back to work. So, but I will. That's a good idea. I'm just going to call somebody, get this one going for me, while I figure out and learn how to start doing this as well. So.
Yeah, and just take to that person all of the keys that you need to have operated, and one has to be the control key, and whatever other keys need to operate it as operating keys, and pursue online education, buy a book. There could be some stuff in your local library, who knows, and ask another locksmith. And I would, and consider me a resource.
Well, I appreciate all your help. I'm definitely going to your website actually, that's how I called you. I went to your website. So I know where to get stuff when I need it, that's for sure. And you sell locks as well, don't you?
Yeah. Are you a hospital?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so we sell everything a hospital uses when it comes to doors and hardware. So you've obviously got your people that you work with, but keep us in mind. If it's something stuck and you need something kicked loose, I should be able to help.
Fantastic. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
You bet. Call me anytime. Thank you very much. My name is Richard. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Richard. You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.